It's a revolution, style revolution, cultural revolution.
When we come out here, we have a fight.
Evolution does not occur in one stage. It's an evolutionary process. Like people go through different things.
The real content of any kind of revolutionary thrust lies in the principles and the goals that you're striving for.
That you are here. And to be here means that you can't be here by ounce.
We have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing.
It's a revolution, style revolution, cultural revolution.
Yo, what up?
Yo, what's up?
You tuned into the Peaceful Rage podcast
Featuring Matt Murphy and Dr. Wes Bellamy. Two brothers,
working in our community,
active, caring for our families.
still trying to get back,
We see what's going on with the big picture.
and we pissed off about it.
Peaceful Rage Podcast.
Peaceful Rage podcast. For everybody who's been showing us love, man, we really appreciate it. Want to make sure we let everybody know, yo, man, we appreciate those 5-star reviews on iTunes. Be sure to continue to follow us on social media at Peaceful Rage Podcast as well. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Leave the comments leave us a comment in all of the comment sections. Let us know how we doing. If you got any topics you want to hear, we can go from there.
Yeah, exactly. If you got questions for us, any things you want us to kind of talk about, talk to, hit us up, man. Yeah, topics we definitely welcomed in. Sometimes we just like, hey, what we gonna do? And other times like, oh, we about to get it in, right?
And this is one we're definitely about to get it in.
We.
So, the topic we have today, interesting one to say the least, but I think it's one that identifies and resonates with a lot of brothers. So, in some of our earlier episodes, we were talking about child support, dealing with different situations. Chisholm. We've got so many comments about Chisholm. We're not even going back down that road. But a lot of brothers was hitting us up and sisters as well, talking about all of that stuff. But one of the things, we got some questions from a couple of our listeners, and Murph and I are both stepfathers. Mm-hmm. So the topic of how do you handle being a stepfather has come up. People have left us a few different comments in regards to their journeys, and maybe we could talk a little bit about ours. But Murph, I got a question for you, an initial question.
What up?
Does the term stepfather feel derogatory to you?
No.
No? Why not?
I'm not easily offended. I don't even know why. How is that derogatory?
Because, some people say, like, yo, I'm not your stepdad. Like, I'm the one that's taking care of you. Your real dad may not even do nothing.
Okay, well, yeah, it's goofy to be like, hey, stepdaddy, right? so like, as far as whatever name they call you in your relationship, that's one thing. But, like, to define who that is and to use the term stepdad, I don't understand why that's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a lot of brothers have different thoughts about it, man. I don't have any.
I'm your daddy.
I don't have any major issues with it, man. The role of father is one that comes in many different forms and it has different titles. And I think sometimes we get caught up in allowing a title to define us in terms of who we are. But what should matter most is you being responsible and taking care of that child. Although we do know when you're playing the role of stepfather, it can be a challenging one. Have you ever had just any like super challenging experiences that you can share as a stepfather, like with you and the kid, or you and the other person's father, or like whatever?
Well, well, let me just kind of draw the picture real quick. So I've got two stepsons, in my previous relationship. And both of those boys are grown, late 20s, doing their thing. Right. So that was that situation. Right. And then me and their mom had, my daughter. Okay. And then I had a son in a previous relationship. Right. So that's that. So 3 boys and a girl, the 2 oldest were stepsons. So I just kind of paint that picture because I know you're also a stepfather, right, but you have daughters, right? And so it's a different vibe. Yeah. So the difficulties that we've encountered up to this point are going to be a little bit different. So maybe we can speak to those in different ways. So again, these boys are grown, got kids of their own, living their lives, being independent. I'm super proud of them.
How old were you when you first came in contact with them?
I was 2021.
How old were they?
They were like 6, 7.
Okay.
Because she was a few years older than me, and then she had them young.
Oh, you like the cougars, huh, bro? He was on the older joints at 2021. All right, that's another episode. Go ahead, bro. My bad.
Yeah, we let that
Back
go.
To Stepfather.
So they were about 6, 7, so they knew their dad, and that's cool. Doing that whole thing. But yeah, challenges come. Challenges come, man. I mean, I ain't gonna put like business on Front Street, but I would just say there are very difficult days, and especially in a situation where you are trying to help a young man grow into a man.
Yeah.
Even if you his biological daddy, you gonna have some challenges.
Have you ever had to hear man, you ain't my dad?
Oh yeah, come on.
How did that make you feel when you had to hear that?
I'm like, no, little nigga, I ain't your daddy. You know what I'm saying? But nah. But
yo, chill.
But I'm just saying, like no, for real though. I think at the end of the day, man, I sat there and I talked to him, and I'm like, maybe I'm not, but in the heat of the moment, maybe you didn't get to have this conversation, but at some point in time, they get to hear you say, I know I'm not your blood daddy, but here I am in this role doing these things. And at the end of the day, whether you like me or not, I at least want you to see and have modeled in front of you what it could and should look like for a man to be in this space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you might take what I'm telling you and you might not take what I'm telling you. But at least let me just be straightforward and give this to you. Even though I know where you might be feeling some kind of way. Nah, whatever.
You brush it off. That's a tough pill to swallow, though.
You got to brush it off in some capacity.
Because they're kids.
Well, they're kids. And, like for me, I never was in their situation. So I also take that into consideration.
Yeah.
My parents are still married, thank God. They've been married for 4 decades, and so I've never. And I say that to say I empathize with them because I don't know what it's like to live with a stepdad. I don't know what it's like for dad to be over there and I want to see him. I don't know those feelings, so I also have to kind of weigh those in consideration when I'm interacting with them because I've never been in their shoes.
Yeah, that's tough, man.
Yeah,
much respect.
Word,
much respect. That's wow.
So what about you though? I mean,
I'm reflecting on your joy. I can only just like so I've been a stepson.
Okay.
And I know, what I'm saying, the feelings that I had towards my quote unquote stepfather and bucking on him, especially when I was, I'm getting recruited in football, I'm lifting weights and I'm thinking I'm a man. So like, you ain't telling me, you ain't my dad. Like, what's up?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But being on the other end of that, when you're the one more likely providing for the family, you're trying to make sure you're not even my blood child and I'm trying to do everything I can for you. And yet you want to buck up on me because I told you to get off the phone early or I told you to abide by certain rules. Mm-hmm. I think just hearing your story and your perspective right now just gave me a new appreciation for my stepfather.
Word.
Real shit. Like, I'm going to call him tomorrow. Yo, what up? You tuned into the Peaceful Rage podcast featuring me, Dr. Wes Bellamy, and my man, Matt Murphy.
At the end of the day, it's a choice. It's a choice that we make as men because now here I am standing in front of this young man, 12, 13, 14, 15, smelling himself and feeling like I ain't got to listen to you because you ain't my daddy. Little homie, I've been here with you. So, you know what I mean? I know that. And deep down, he knows that. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, it's like it could have been my own son telling me I'm a man now. It's just fill in the blank. It's you ain't my daddy, or I'm a man, or this is this, or this is that. So, part of that's just like you got to be the bigger person. You see the bigger picture. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And walking inside of that kind of understanding.
Yeah, I don't know if we can air this. Okay, no, we can't. I'm just
okay.
I just got an epiphany, bro.
Oh, word.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I'm gonna call my stepfather tomorrow.
Yeah. And keeping it all the way funky, at the end of the day, and this is kind of my perspective on things. I met their mama first, right? That's who I was with.
Right.
And they will grow up and they will get the hell out of my house. And so, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
I still have to maintain what I had with this individual. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of it as well. It's like, that's part of the bigger picture is knowing the whole cycle of life, the cycle of a family. Like there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end of kids being in your house. Unless maybe you got some dysfunction, you just like some codependent type shit. And you're like, keep coming back. Oh, I know you 39, baby. Just bring everybody with you. You know what I mean? Like, now granted, there's situations,
right.
But there's also some dysfunction that can happen. And so, like the goal was, as a parent, I want to raise these young people into adults. I want to raise them in love to go out into a world that does not love them. You know what I mean? And my job was to prepare them. And one day I'm not going to have to take care of them day to day. And I'm going to be with this woman right here. And so, you know what I mean? Like, all those things combined help you deal with the bumps in the road when the little homie says, "You ain't my daddy."
Wow. I've said that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in situations, I remember very, very candidly. So my mother and I, my pops, my biological pops, he used to beat the shit out of my moms. You know what I'm saying? And I remember one of like my earliest memories was my mother at the kitchen, in the refrigerator, and my father asked her something. We had, well, I don't know, we couldn't have just moved to Atlanta. We had been in Atlanta for a few years. Well, probably a couple of years. And he asked her a question, and she was like, he was like, "Who you talking to?" She's like, "I'm talking to you." And he just walked up to her and just like, bow. You know what I'm saying? And my mom grabbed me and we ran down the steps and we was out. That's like one of the first things I remember. Like,
that's like an early memory.
Yeah, that's a really early memory for me, right? And I remember, like, little bits and pieces of my mother, like, telling me, like, she finally got a divorce from my dad, and, like, me being in, like, kindergarten or some shit, like, crying. And my teacher's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, my mom, my dad are getting a divorce. And, like, I hadn't really even seen my pops, right? Like, I mean, but he was still, like, quote unquote a hero. Like, it's your dad. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then I remember it just being my mother and I, and my mom's making a lot of sacrifices for it to just be, for us to have what we need. Because she, like, my mother's from South Carolina. We're living in Atlanta now. We don't have any family here. We just got to get it. And my mom didn't come from the kind of place where, she just go out and get it. She was a younger, she was the youngest sibling. Well, in fact, my grandmother raised my mother, and, she was raised around her aunts and uncles basically as the younger sister. My great grandmother raised my mother, rather. And, like, she just didn't grow up like that, like having to go out, grind, and get it. But she learned it somehow, right? And I'm just growing a real appreciation from my biological mother. You know what I'm saying? If I'm being 100, like maybe in like the last, couple of years where I'm understanding the sacrifice, I would just wonder, like, why didn't she come to my games? Or why didn't she tell me like she was proud of me? Or why didn't she say certain things to me, right? And my dad, wow, there was a time period, he moved back to South Carolina, and my dad was on and off drugs or whatnot, and he would, say certain things or call me, and he would only give me highlights. Like, "Yeah, I send you $100, or I tell you, like, man, you good," or he might come to a game. So I'm thinking like my dad is this or that. It wasn't until, I get in my middle-aged years or, teenage years, and when my mom kicked me out because I got into it with my stepdad. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, "Yo, you got to leave." And I'm thinking, and then me and my pop started having issues. Well, we had issues before, and like he and I are just kind of repairing our relationship. Mm-hmm. But I say all that to say, back to the stepfather piece, when I was 9, my mother met this guy, and he bought me a Sega Genesis for Christmas.
With the 3 buttons.
Yeah, with the 3 buttons. And I'm like, "Yo, this dude bought me a Sega? Like, he might be kind of cool." You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't really know what to think about him, but yeah. I'm thinking he might be kind of cool. Like, all right, you know what I'm saying? And, he would try to say little things to me, give me little nuggets. But I got a dad, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. All right, who is you, dude? And then, they had a son. They had they had my little brother. They wound up getting married, you know what I'm saying? But there's always a level of resentment, like, you're not really my pops. And it's crazy. I was home in Atlanta this past weekend, and my mom and, they have the new crib now. Things you can do when your kid's not in the house no more. You buy new cribs, and they living a lot different than we did when I was younger. And I look at this one picture from when I was like I think I was like 14 or 15. And there's a picture of my stepfather, my mother, my little brother, and me, and they're all smiling. And I got like this little weird little smirk on my face, right? Like, I don't really want to be here. And I remember that day, like, man, this some fake family stuff, like, this ain't my family. You know what I mean?
You got to post that picture, man.
Yeah, I might have to after this episode comes out, right? And this the picture right here. I'm just showing you. I'm showing Murph. And it's like, yo, I remember, like, you see that, right? You see that, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I don't really want to be here, man. Like, whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I
said my daddy.
Right.
Yeah.
But and I remember him, like, as you were telling the story and as you were talking about your experience, I remember him like trying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude, he took in a woman with a son who has a big personality with like comes with all kinds of other baggage. You got to deal with his dad. You got to deal with his family. You got to deal with this kid who, you know, thinks he knows everything. And I'm still going to provide for y'all. And I remember my step-pops used to be on some stuff like he didn't really want my moms to work. Like he wanted her to hold down the crib. So he would work to make sure we had what we needed, right? Like hold us down. That takes a lot. And I was like, just hearing you talk for so many years, bro, I've been really unappreciative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's word.
And like that's why when you were talking, dog, it was hitting home because I'm like, like I remember the day my mom's kicked me out of my crib when I was like 17, something like that. And my step pops, I used to love Jordans. Everybody knows me, like, and like I used to love sneakers. Like,
meanwhile, I've never had a pair of Jordans, but
what?
anyway,
never.
And
that's another topic.
And don't even feel bad, but go ahead.
Anyway. It was some Jordans coming out, some whack J's at that, like some ones that were whack. They were weak. I just wanted them because like we'd go to school and be like, yeah, I got them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. See, that's that bullshit.
Yeah,
go ahead.
You're right. I'm not going to front.
No, go ahead.
And
man.
I used to like, I don't even know, like do all kind of crazy stuff to get the bread. Like I don't even call I don't know what scheme the way scheme to get the bread, right? And I remember he was like, yo, come back in the crib before 6 o'clock. It's a Saturday. I'm like, yo, it's a Saturday, bro. Like, I'm feeling myself. I'm getting recruited. I'm the man at school, around my way. Like, everybody know, like, yeah, that's the quarterback dude. It's basketball season about to start. Point guard. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling myself. I'm like, I'm not coming home at 6 o'clock. Like, what are you going to do? Fight me? Like, I'll beat his ass. So it's like, I get home, it's like 7:30. And the screen door is locked. He's like, yo, I told you come home at 6. So I'm like, bro, open the screen door. Like, you know what I'm saying? Open the door. She's like, nah. So I'm like, Ma, you just going to, like, you going to choose him over me? And my mom was like, yo, you going to have to figure this one out, Wes. Like, yo, he told you what to do. Like, you clearly just chose to disobey the rules. So I'm like, oh, word. Like, she picking this dude over me. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at it through that perspective. I call my cousin. My cousin just happened to be in town that weekend. She's from South Carolina. She like, I call my real dad. My dad like, yo, you could just come here. Yeah. Like my aunt, my grandma, you just come here. I'm like, all right, bet. I went and stayed in my girl crib. And the next day, my cousin came. We packed up my stuff. And I'm out like, yeah. But man, see, I don't need them. You know what I'm saying? And I look back at that, like, as you were telling that story, like, yo, this dude literally was probably at his wit's end. Because I remember, like, a couple weeks before that, like, he and I, them, they got in a fight. And, like, my uncles and stuff drove from South Carolina. And I think my dad did, too. Like, they drove from South Carolina to Atlanta. Like, yo, like, what's up? Like, you putting your hands, like, on my kid. Like, me and him were used to beef, bruh.
Yeah.
And this dude was probably at wit's end, like, yo, this little dude in my crib just making it hectic.
Hey.
I'm taking care of him.
Bruh. This is what I'm telling you, man.
I'm having like a confessional moment right now.
No, I'm just thinking because me, you know what I'm saying, me and the ear was talking earlier, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
At a certain point, it gets to that place where you have a young man in the house and it's almost like, you know, who's the silverback? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Who's the daddy in this joint? You know?
Right.
And so
he can't just let me run over him.
He can't do it, man. He the man of his house. Like, you're going to be the man of your house. And he's grooming you to be a man of your own house. And so there's that time where often the tension drives that division. The challenge is when it comes early. When you 13, 14, 15, 16, you can't really do it. Right. You know, I remember one of the boys coming to me one time and they was like, I'm ready to move out. I said, oh, word? I said, how about you bring me your check from your fast food job? Okay. I said, word. And we did some mathematics right quick. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to stay here for a little while. I said, yeah, you think so?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That would be smart for you.
So if that's the case, then here's the rules. You know what I mean? And I'm the man of the house, you know, and they're going to have that in their time, you know. But oftentimes it's just some friction that requires that. But let me go back for a second, man, because I appreciate you talking about like just, hey, I need to call my step pops. I remember I was probably, I want to say early 20s. Here I was, you know, hadn't been married for very long, you know, maybe a year or two, had one of my own and 2 stepkids. And then we had just had another one. And I remember sitting there, right? I remember calling my pops and like, hey, I'm sorry.
Word?
Like at that point, I understood. You know, so I'm sitting there. I'm like,
and that's how I feel. Like right now,
I'm feeling it. Like so. I remember like, you know, he didn't come to my games. You know what I mean? I was playing t-ball or baseball, whatever. He ain't come to the games. Hey,
it's real.
You know what? Because he worked second shift and he couldn't come.
And he did that to take care of us.
And see, I was a selfish, you know, little kid. You know what I mean? And I didn't understand it. I got older. I got my own, and there was shit that I want to do. I couldn't do with and for my kids. And I'm just like. Now I understand. Please forgive me. You know what I'm saying? Like on some real biz. Because I was an asshole to him on some stuff I didn't understand, and he didn't make me feel any less than, you know. But I don't know what that was like for him to take that on and hear me say that on some ungrateful shit. Like, oh, I like driving from Columbus to Cleveland in the middle of the night to go fix a cash register somewhere. Like, no, I don't love that, but I'm doing that so you can do that shit that you doing, even though I can't be there for you. Yo, what's up? You're listening to the Peaceful Rage podcast featuring me, Matt Murphy, and Dr. Wes Bellamy.
And I wonder if brothers who are stepfathers right now, do we understand or are we patient enough to be able to remain steadfast and stick with it? And how long are you willing to quote unquote wait to get your thank you? Or are you even doing it for a thank you?
You can't.
You can't be doing it for a thank you, right?
I mean, that goes back to we talked about that in the previous episode. Like, you plant seeds, man, you don't even always see that fruit.
Yo, so you were asking me the question earlier, and I have daughters, right? And it's different. My daughters, I mean, I have two stepdaughters, one biological daughter. I mean, they're literally all my daughters. Like, are
any of them in middle school yet?
No.
Okay.
So I'm getting the I'm getting the good, right? I'm good right now, right?
You good money, but go ahead.
So I think about though, like I've been with my two stepdaughters. Obviously, been with my daughter her whole life. My two stepdaughters since I think they were like 5 and 3, and I mean they're 10 and 8 now. I was just looking at a picture yesterday of all three of the girls together. You know that app, that Everbomb app. It was like from 3 years ago. And they were so tiny, and I just. Like, they are daddy's girls, all of them, right? Even in a different way. Sometimes they don't do the things I like. And they've just accustomed, like, even my daughters, when they lived in South Carolina before they moved up, before their mother and I got married, like, I would drive down to be at first day of school, like, parent-teacher conferences, like, their teachers would know. And they're like, yo, yeah. And at the point, we were just, you know, not engaged or this is their mom's boyfriend, but yo, call me. You know what I'm saying? Or they acting up like, I will drive down here. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted to show them that you're that important to me. And as they are growing, you know, I see little differences in them and I love them so much. But I do wonder, like, the day when it comes, when they're just like, you know, when they say to me, how am I going to feel when they say to me, like, you know, you're not my dad? Or they want to have attitude. That probably will break my heart. Like, I'm trying to prepare myself now. And I know it's coming.
I mean, yes.
And because I think it also will hurt because their dad he probably listens to this, probably don't. He just, like, he hasn't spoken to them in 2 years and he does, like, shit for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, they don't even call me dad.
Right.
Like, and I don't trip on that like they call me Wes, but they know.
Yeah, my kids didn't call me dad.
Yeah,
I mean, my stepsons.
Yeah, like, and I wasn't
bugging off that.
Yeah, like, I don't trip on that. But the level of sacrifice that comes with it. And I'm wondering how I would feel when that day comes.
That's a choice a man makes, man. And when that day comes, because, you know, the defiance of adolescence is real. So, again, you're going to get it whether that's your step kid or your real kid. You know what I mean? It's just how you adjust yourself. You ain't my daddy? What?
Right.
You know, just bug them out for a second. You won't be on some old defiant business, man. Let me mess with your mind for a minute. Right. You know, but, you know, I don't know, man. You know,
being patient. I mean, the patience that's required to be a stepfather is also one that I think we have to touch on more because there's that. I mean, I think brothers, if we're being 100 with ourselves, there's a selfishness that comes with us too. Like, I'm doing all this for you, and you're not even my real child.
Right. There's a selfishness, and there's also. And I don't even know how we could even break this down right now, but there's a dynamic between you and the woman that you with and her kid who also knows that's not yours. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes there can be kind of a wall or a barrier of sorts that they will actually create between you and themselves, or you and that child. You know what I'm saying? And how do you...
A wedge of sorts.
Right. How do you carefully, lovingly deconstruct that and rebuild like a healthy kind of boundary, understanding what that needs to look like between you and her regarding this child? Because there's gonna be days when y'all don't agree about this child, and she gonna pull that shit like, well, you know, she ain't even yours, no way. Well, hold on, we're not having that conversation,
right?
Because we here and we grown. That's the emotional shit that their kids gonna do, but that's not what we gonna do. But y'all's relationship has to be in a place where y'all can even agree on that. You know, because again, you're in a relationship. What are you doing? You're bringing your values, your experiences, and things that are important to you into a connection with somebody else that also has values and things that are important, and some are similar and some ain't.
That's a real thing. I've seen many a relationship be crumble because of interactions between quote unquote step parents and or the other individual who's in the relationship, and not being able to carefully walk that line. But then I think by the same token, as just as easy as you can be a stepfather, right? The person who you choose to mate could also wind up being a stepmother. And how do you navigate cultivating that relationship between those two? Because that's very delicate and or difficult.
Well, to me, that's part of the game. So you start talking about entering into relationships with people that have kids, or if you have a kid and they don't. You know, part of me choosing, part of you choosing is going to be me interacting and you seeing how you interact with my child and vice versa.
Right.
Because, I mean, hey, we done been around some bad ones, but they wasn't the right ones, though. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And,
you ain't never lied.
And so I'm just like, all right, well, you know, let me see how you do with my child. Not that you're going to bring everyone that you interact with around your child, but if you go moving in that direction, in that space, you want to see what that looks like. And if you start to sense some things, you already know it's going to be a point of tension in y'all's relationship. You know, let's just go ahead and keep it pushing. You know what I mean? So that's part of how that choosing takes place a lot of times, at least if you value those relationships. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. But I think the question also is, do we allow your mate the patience and the time to grow? Grow into a relationship and or understand that the way you operate may be different from them.
You got to, but see, that's why you got to come to a place together with a philosophy of parenting, recognizing, you know, so my ex-wife, like, you know, her parents are still married to this day. Yeah. So both of us are now in a space where her parents have been married for 50, however long years. Grandmama and granddaddy was married. My mom and dad married. Their parents stayed married for years. Neither one of us knows what it's like to be a stepchild or to have a step parent. And so in our context, it was like, I gotta think through those things. Other settings is different, but you got to have a philosophy of parenting as a couple when you start talking about how we're going to deal with these children, whether they're biological or not. Here's what's important in our house. Here's what's important to what we instill in them, and we got to be on that wave. Otherwise, it could be baby's daddy coming back in the mix, and he want to throw some shade and some salt and make it funky, like whatever.
There's a lot of dynamics and variables that could really mess it up. So I think that's why it's important as brothers we can have a certain level of patience, myself included. Like, I'm still working on that patience. Because I know, like, if I'm having a moment of transparency, just like I have to be patient and understand that not everybody, like both my wife and or my daughter, my biological daughter's mother, they're like, we're not the same. We don't parent the same, right? And the way that I may want things done is not necessarily the way that it's always going to go, or, you know, and that's just something that if I'm being 100 with myself, I have to do a better job of, right? And I think when we're talking about being a step parent, we have to be willing to be open, transparent, but also honest with each other, or honest with ourselves, because there's no such thing as a perfect parent. And the patience that we are, or the desires, whatever we want from our spouse and or mate to give to their biological child, in which we're the situation in which we're the step parent, or that we would want them to give to our biological child in the situation in which they're the step parent, we have to be able to find a balance, right? But I think those are learned behaviors and or behaviors that you can only develop through experience or having someone teach you and show you those things. And we have to do a better job collectively as men talking about these situations, to share our experiences, to know we're not in silos and we're not alone, and it's going to be okay. Like, it means a lot. I mean, Murph, I've known you for a minute, but when you would always talk about your sons, or quote unquote stepsons, whatever, and the commitment that you made in their lives. Like, I'm going to stick with them regardless, even if their mother and I don't work out. Like, those are my children. That's a model, an example that I don't know enough younger brothers who are in certain situations, if we hear those words or if we see that example and know that we can do it.
Well, yes, thank you. And I would say, and we don't even want the show to run long this time, but I'm just thinking, like, okay, there's a decision that you make. So I know a dude, he, got married to a woman who had a child, and the child was very young when they met. Has been with this woman probably damn near a decade. Okay, but he said to me, he said, "Hey," he said, "real talk." He said, "I really didn't even feel connected to her to her child for probably about 6-7 years."
What? So
there was this. So he had an emotional, and I don't know what that looked like on a day-to-day basis, but he admitted like this distance that he had between, you know what I'm saying, like himself and this child. It wasn't like cold. It wasn't I don't acknowledge you, but he had a wall with himself. So I just had to say, like, these are all choices that we make. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you trying to be stepdaddy for every woman that you get with that got kids? Like, come on, dog. They ain't your role neither. You know what I'm saying? Like, where y'all going with this? But if you get to the place where you say, hey, we're going to build. Okay, then we need to talk about this. Because, look, you can get with somebody, right? And you first meet baby so-and-so, right? Yeah. And you ain't really say nothing, baby wild as hell, jumping on stuff. But you like, can I really say something? You know what I mean? And then you be like, you get to a point like, hey, sit down. You know what I mean? Like, but then she feels some kind of way. Because you done told the baby to sit down.
Or she turned on by it.
Well, maybe that too, bro. That's a real thing. But I'm saying, like, you trying to balance that whole dynamic. You know what I'm saying? And so figuring those things out as you move along. So some of it's learned, some of it's taught, some of it's lived.
But in the common denominator, in my opinion, in all of that is patience.
True.
Because are you patient enough to be able to navigate that? But I think you're absolutely right. And man, do you believe in parenting classes?
I believe in parenting classes.
Like,
I believe they are real. But no, I mean, look,
this dude don't believe in anything. Like, someone in the wild. This is the wildest thing about Murph. Homie is a therapist. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not putting all his business in the street, but like, like, come on. He's a counselor. You know what I'm saying?
I just wish I could get paid for it though. But go ahead.
This dude says, he don't believe. We said during a couple other episodes, I asked him, do you think parents should have to go to a parenting class after they have their kids? He like, see, that's some liberal government shit.
Yeah.
I asked him just now, do you believe in parenting classes? This dude's a counselor. Y'all hear how he talks every day on the episodes. He has all this. This is what he does. And he's like, I don't know if I believe in that. How do you not believe, bro? You do it. This is what you do.
I mean, I don't put on no classes. All I'm saying is, I think there can be a value in it. So,
This dude here,
I'm just saying though, there can be a value. Because listen, I guess for me, I'm also very skeptical of like curriculum. Like, where is this parenting coming from?
I respect.
Are you trying to teach parenting in a model, in a setting that's not realistic for what the context that these people are in? Like, so I'm not going to just in a general statement say, I'm down. But yes, I think there should be some. People have gone through some terrible things in their lives, and then they got into a situation, or now they have a baby, whether they planned it or didn't. So maybe they do need some skills. Maybe they do need some training. Maybe they do need some support. But do
you think that the situation with the you were married for a very long time, right? Do you think the fact that she was married with she had come from a 2-parent household played a big role in like y'all's longevity?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's different for brothers and or sisters who come from single parent households?
Yes.
So how do we bridge that gap?
I don't know. I mean, real talk.
That's the question.
It's the continuation. It's the continuing attempt.
Right.
That's all we can do, because that's all that they did, the previous generations. But I firmly believe that played a significant role in the longevity of that situation.
That's real. I mean, yeah.
Not that like I sat there and thought about it. You know what I mean? I just, you think about somebody that you know that's been with someone for 20, 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And you know some of their story. Not even all of it, but just some of their story. That's some shit right there that you be like, like this thing right now that I'm going through 7 years in, I don't like it. It ain't cool. But dang, I see that thing, and that's what I kind of aspire to. And I know some of that story. I know it can be done. Whether you choose to continue or not, I know it can be done. That's why I love reading biographies, because I like reading stories about people that have done amazing things, and you start to really get into what they went through. And it's like, dang, you had to go overcome all of that to do that? Woo. That's why you got that, bro. I don't know if I could have lived through it. And you keep on pressing.
That's game.
Word.
That's game. So we're getting marriage advice, parental advice, but you don't believe in counseling.
I'm not. Nah, it's saying believe in counseling. You know what? See, here you go. I'm gonna do that. You do make the press do you.
Yo, man, be sure to leave a comment, man. Let us know what you think at Peaceful Rage Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Facebook. Instagram. I said Facebook twice.
Yeah, sorry.
This is deep. This was a good one.
No doubt.
Much respect,
Peace,
Black
man.
Jesus, man. You really, yo, I appreciate that, man. And I'm gonna call my stepfather tomorrow. So, yo, last notes, man, for all of the brothers out there. You know, we say this show is specifically for Black men, but listen, or you know. It's catered to Black men, but it's a show for everybody.
Word.
And specifically for the brothers out there who are quote unquote stepfathers, you may not be feeling appreciated. Hang in there, bruh. Because
yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say you may be taking care of somebody else's kids, still paying child support, but it's gonna be all right.
I'm trying to give a sentimental, motivational moment.
I ain't got no sense.
Obviously, in all the sense at the same time. You are like the world's wonder. Like, I don't get. Yo, anyway, let me finish saying what the hell I was saying, man. Brothers, stick in there, man. It's gonna be all right, bro. You will, like Murph always says, man, you may not see or know when that tree is gonna bear fruit, but it will, and you'll get your own blessings for doing the right thing, right? And yo, bro, you appreciate it, man. You hear from us. You are indeed appreciated, so stick with it. Do what you can to make things right. So, yo, as always, man, we want to thank the listeners. Appreciate y'all rocking with us.
Absolutely, man.
Shout out to our sponsors.
Like You Marketing, Ty Cooper.
Shout out to our producer, The Ear. Yo, what up, man? At Damani for prayers, hit him up. And also, if you want to be able to sponsor with us, or you want to come through on the show, look out for us. Hit us up on Gmail at peacefulragepodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on social media at Peaceful Rage Podcast on all social media websites. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Knowing